What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of K-Cards Baseball. Thanks for joining me today or tonight, whatever the case may be where you're at. Hopefully everything is wonderful for you guys out there. Really excited about tonight's topic on the channel. We are going to be taking a look at who I think are the top candidates for MVP for the 2025 baseball season. In doing this analysis, I wanted to take out the odds-on favorite players for MVP. So for the American League, that would be Bobby Witt Jr. and Aaron Judge. In the National League, that would be Juan Soto and Shohei Ohtani. I wanted to take a look at those next tier guys that finished in the top 10 in voting last year that could possibly take the jump to the top tier in the 2025 season. I also wanted to pick out a dark horse possible MVP candidate in each league, a guy that really finished the season very strong last year that can possibly take the next step up to the top tier in each league and be a viable MVP candidate. Both of those candidates for Dark Horse were actually rookies last year that finished the season strong. So we're going to take a look at that in a little bit. Because this is a baseball card oriented channel, we'll also take a look at each of these players' best values in their rookie cards or best valued cards that you can go out and buy for a really good price. So stay tuned for that in a little bit. So let's go ahead and get into my picks for MVP in each league for the 2025 baseball season. The first candidate I have on the list is this guy right here, Mr. Gunnar Henderson, one of my very favorite baseball players currently in the game. He is an absolute stud. Not only is he a dominant player at the plate, he is also an incredible fielder, primarily at shortstop, but he also does play a little bit at third base. Gunnar is still only 23 years old, so he is still a pretty young man. 6'3" and 220, an absolute beast on the baseball diamond. One interesting stat about Gunnar is that last year his WAR was 9.1 at 23 years old. In all of baseball history, there's only been 8 other players that have achieved that stat at such a young age. Those players are all either Hall of Famers or guys that are going to be in the Hall of Fame. On this list includes such amazing players as Mookie Betts, Bryce Harper, Cal Ripken Jr., Reggie Jackson, Mickey Mantle, Willie Mays, Stan Musial, and Ted Williams. So that puts Gunnar definitely on the track for being a Hall of Famer down the road. We also do know that Gunnar was the AL Rookie of the Year in 2023. My only concern for Gunnar is that there is a possibility that he could miss opening day this year with a right intercostal strain. And looking at his stats last year, he did have a WAR of 9.1 with 37 home runs, 92 RBI, a whopping 21 stolen bases. So 37 home runs and 21 stolen bases, that is a pretty amazing stat right there. His batting average was .281 and his OPS was .893. In both years he has been at the major league level, he has been above 800 on OPS. Quite an amazing start for Gunnar Henderson. And looking at his projections for the upcoming year, they seem to me to be a little bit on the light side. They are projecting him for 29 home runs, 15 stolen bases, a batting average of .274, and an OPS of .859. That seems to be a little bit on the light side because those projections are less than what he has done the last 2 years. So I don't know if they're putting more stock into his current condition, him being injured right now, but we'll just have to see. Again, I think that those projections are pretty light for Gunnar. And looking at Gunnar's Bowman First cards, here's a 2019 Bowman Chrome First PSA 10 for $43. It actually ends in 43 minutes. Here's a purple numbered to 250 for $75 raw. This is a Sapphire for $50. This one I actually thought was pretty decent. This one says it's actually in near mint condition. This is his Bowman Chrome Draft for $1.57. Pretty crazy price there. But here's a green paper numbered to 99 for $28. That's actually a pretty nice one. Might possibly take a look at picking up that card because I do like the green cards numbered to 99. This is also a really nice card here. This PSA 10 Chrome for $65. So there is some really good buys out there for Gunnar Henderson. Here's a PSA 10 for $29, a Chrome PSA 10 for $29. Here's one for a whopping 99 cents. So you can get some really nice Gunnar Henderson cards for a very reasonable price. So that is a look at Gunnar Henderson. My next candidate for MVP in the American League is Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Last year he finished 6th in voting for MVP. He actually got off to a pretty slow start at the beginning of last year. However, from August on, he really absolutely tore it up. We all know about his rookie year of 2021 when he had a whopping 48 home runs with a 1.002 OPS and finished 2nd in the American League in MVP voting. He has averaged 29 home runs over the course of the last 3 seasons. And last year, he did finish with a 940 OPS, which was actually his highest OPS since his rookie year in 2021. He also had a 6.2 WAR in 2024 as well. He is set to be a free agent after the season and will need to have a good year this year to maximize his earning potential for his next team, which might very well be the Toronto Blue Jays as well, but there are already rumblings that he might possibly end up in pinstripes with the Yankees, which would be pretty sad, to be honest with you. I'd hate to see Vladdy go to the Yankees at all. I can't even imagine Vladdy and Aaron Judge being in the same lineup. That would be pretty devastating for the rest of the American League. Last year in 2024, he had a 6.2 WAR with 199 hits and 30 home runs and a batting average of .323, 103 RBIs, and an OPS, like I mentioned earlier, of 940. His projections for 2025 seem really light to me. They are projecting him for 26 home runs and 87 RBIs and a batting average of .291 with an OPS of .861. I think he's been above those numbers every year that he's playing. If he did come in at that .861 OPS, that would be his lowest OPS in the last couple of years. And looking at 2023, he had a .788 OPS, kind of an anomaly. So an .861 OPS is basically an average of the last 4 years on his OPS. Guys, I'm looking at Vladdy's completed sales for his 2016 Bowman First card. You can see some paper cards first here on top, one for $5.99 that recently sold, another one for $5.45. And I'm looking for his Bowman First Chrome right here for $19.50. That actually isn't a bad price. That is a raw Bowman First Chrome. Here's a graded Bowman First Chrome for $79.51 that recently sold. There's actually a nice yellow for $16. Another Chrome card raw for $14.95. And here's a 9 that sold for $36. So that gives you an idea what the market is for Vladdy Guerrero Jr. You can get his raw card typically for around $15 to $20, or even some as low as $10 if you're interested in his paper Bowman First card. You can get that generally for under $10. In the PSA graded cards, the mints are going for about $35 to $40, and the Chrome 10s are going for somewhere in that $80 range, which is still not a bad price for a guy that hasn't even hit his prime yet and is dominating the league the way that Vladdy Guerrero Jr. is. So definitely go out there and pick up some of his cards. I think that you guys have a chance of making some decent money on Vladdy Guerrero Jr. down the road. Let's roll into the National League and take a look at our candidates for MVP in the National League. My top candidate for MVP in the National League is the guy that actually finished second in voting last year, and that is Francisco Lindor. Most odds makers this year have Francisco Lindor finishing third this year behind his teammate Juan Soto and, of course, the great Shohei Ohtani. However, my opinion is, in looking at his stats, he has consistently improved his numbers every year since joining the Mets 4 years ago. For example, last year he had 33 home runs, an 844 OPS, and a 6.9 WAR. In 2023, his WAR was 6.0 versus 6.9 last year, and he had 31 home runs in 2023 as opposed to 33 home runs last year. His RBIs were down a little bit, but his OPS dramatically improved and have consistently improved every year since he's been a Met. 4 years ago, when he first joined the Mets, his OPS was 734. In 2022, his OPS went up to 788. In 2023, it was at 806, and last year was at 844. So he has consistently gone up around 37 points from 1 year to the next in OPS. If he does that again this year, his OPS will be around 880, which would be an absolute monster year. Last year, he really improved and carried the Mets to the playoffs after August 1st. His OPS jumped all the way up to 956 from August 1st through the end of the year. And he was 100% the catalyst that carried the Mets to the National League Championship Series against the Dodgers last year. An absolute stud, and I see big things for Francisco Lindor with Juan Soto in the lineup in 2025. And looking at Francisco Lindor's cards that he has listed on eBay, currently there's a few different cards to choose from. This is his 2012 Bowman Chrome Refractor, numbered to 500 for $78. That's not a bad deal. His actual Bowman Chrome first card is this 2011 Bowman Chrome Draft card. This is a BGS graded 9.5 for $15.50. Not a bad deal there for $15.50 for Francisco Lindor. And looking at his prices on his cards, are a little bit all over the map, but you can find a pretty decent Francisco Lindor card for under $100. But his autograph cards are still pretty pricey. Here's one for actually $4,000. That one is a gold refractor numbered to 50. Really nice card there for sure. That one is a PSA 9 for $4,000. Here's one for $625 for a Bowman Chrome auto card. Looks to be an on-card auto, so that is a nice card if you have that kind of money to spend. But like I said, you can pick up a decent 2011 or 2012 Bowman Chrome card of Francisco Lindor for under $100 if you do a little bit of searching for it. So that is a look at Francisco Lindor. Let's move on to our next candidate for MVP in the National League. My next candidate for MVP in the National League is this guy right here, Elly De La Cruz, an absolute beast on the baseball diamond, both at the plate and in the field. He's one of the few guys that can actually create a buzz in the stadium when he steps to the plate or steps onto the baseball diamond. One interesting stat about Elly De La Cruz is that he's only the fifth player since 1900 to hit more than 20 home runs and steal more than 60 bases. That is an amazing stat about Elly De La Cruz. In 2024, he finished 8th in MVP voting, and I look for big things for Elly De La Cruz in the upcoming season. The big knock against Elly is his strikeouts. He struck out 31% of the time in 2024, and if he wants to be taken seriously as a potential MVP candidate, he really needs to do dramatically better in the upcoming season. But we all know his talent. We all know that he's a beast, and we all know that he's still a really young guy and has a tremendous amount of growth potential in the upcoming years. And looking at Elly De La Cruz, there's plenty of really good options for you for his Bowman Chrome first card of 2022. There's really nice raw cards. Here's a raw for $6.99 that actually only has 2 days left, and there aren't any bids on that card. But here's a PSA 10 for $60. Here's another PSA 10 for $48, and that one ends in 9 minutes. This one's a really nice green, numbered to 99 for $46. Here's a Mojo refractor for $5.50. So there's really good deals out there in Elly De La Cruz for his Bowman first cards from 2022. If you just do a little bit of shopping around, you can find good deals for his cards. So that is a look at Elly De La Cruz. Now we're going to take a look at the dark horse candidates for MVP from each league. My first dark horse candidate is Wyatt Langford from the Texas Rangers. He was a rookie last year, and similar to my candidate in the National League, Wyatt Langford got off to a really slow start in 2024. But really good on the Rangers that they stuck with him, and he really turned it around, mainly after June 1st last year. Before June 1st of last year, his batting average was only .222 with 1 home run. After June 1st of last year, he had an OPS of .804 with 15 home runs and was the main catalyst for the Rangers in the second half of the season last year. In August of last year, his OPS was .996 with 8 home runs. So it really seemed to me that he really figured it out after the first half of the year. As most rookies do when they first come up to the major league level, they have no idea what to expect. Once they do finally settle down and become more comfortable with the day-to-day operations of baseball at the major league level, they really have a tendency to turn it on. We saw that as well last year with a guy like Jackson Holliday and Jackson Merrill, 2 guys that really struggled as well when they got called up and really turned it on towards the end of the season. Here's a look at Wyatt Langford's completed sales on eBay. The first card listed is a 2023 first Bowman Chrome Draft PSA 10 for $22.27. That is really, really cheap. I wouldn't expect his Chrome draft cards to sell for that cheap at all in a PSA 10. However, here's a Chrome refractor PSA 10 that sold for $63. That to me is a really good deal. Here's another refractor that sold for $70. And another Chrome refractor that actually sold for $51. If you can get this card in a PSA 10 for around $50, that to me seems to be a really good price for his cards. Generally, his raw refractors are selling for around $20, and you can get his regular base Chrome card for, here's some for under $5. Here's one for $8.50 and another one for $4. So if you can get his regular base Chrome card for under $5 or around $5, that to me seems to be a really good investment, because I think that these cards will really take off going into the season. So that's a look at Wyatt Langford and where his current card prices are at. My National League dark horse candidate is this guy right here, Jackson Chourio. Another guy that got off to a really slow start at the beginning of last season. However, he did really turn it on big time as the season went along and carried the Milwaukee Brewers to the playoffs last year. This year, with Willy Adames leaving, as well as Devin Williams, I really see big things for Jackson Chourio for the upcoming season, because he will be the leader for the Brewers in 2025. One interesting stat about Jackson Chourio is that he was the youngest player in Major League Baseball history to have 20 home runs and 20 stolen bases. He is still only 20 years old going into this season. His stats last year, he had a total of 21 home runs, 145 hits, a WAR of 3.8, and an OPS of 791. And that is with having an absolute terrible start. After June 1st of last year, however, his batting average was 303 with a WAR of 828. Really a dramatic increase after his slow start last year. Looking at the Jackson Chourio cards that recently sold, it is actually quite a mystery to me why his card values are as low as they are. Here's a 2022 Jackson Chourio Bowman Chrome card, PSA 10, that sold for $35, and that seems to me to be pretty consistent with what his card prices have been at for quite some time now. Here's another one that sold for $45, and that actually seems to me to be on the high end. I would like to see his card values continue to go up because I do have a few of his Chrome Bowman First cards. So if he can get some of his parallels for a really decent price for under $20, I would be buying those for sure. This is an example of the price of his raw Bowman Chrome First card. You can see that one sold for $3.30. That to me is pretty cheap, and that is definitely worth buying. But that is pretty consistent with what I've seen of his Bowman Chrome First cards, and that seems to me to be a pretty consistent price as it relates to Jackson Chourio cards currently. So that's a look at Jackson Chourio and what his current card values are at. Let me know down in the comment section below what you guys think of my candidates for MVP in 2025. I really think that this is a pretty solid group, and these are guys that you can take advantage of their card prices right now before the beginning of the 2025 season, because I think that once the season starts, each one of these players' Bowman First cards, as well as their rookie cards, are really going to take off throughout the course of the season when these players get off to a really good start. So thanks again, guys, for checking out this video. I really appreciate it. If you're new to the channel and haven't had a chance to hit that like and subscribe, I'd greatly appreciate it if you could take care of that for me. It really helps out the channel quite a bit, and it is your best way to show your support for what we do here on the K Cards channel. Thanks again, guys, for checking out this video. Be safe out there and happy collecting. We'll talk to you guys later.